The movie Soul was the Pixar's newest film. Came out on Disney Plus. So again, kind of spoiler free. Top line. What did you guys think of this movie?
I have a lot less to say about this because I don't know. I think I'm kind of at. I think I've sort of reached the point where I'm of the opinion now, like, where I can just kind of say, like, it's a Pixar movie. You probably know if you're going to like this movie before you watch it, like, which isn't a bad thing. Like, it is a good movie. Like, it's charming, funny, quite inventive at parts. It's a good movie. Watch it. I just don't feel like I can really say that much about it or like add to it, like, other than like it's a Pixar movie.
One thing that I kind of thought that I'd be curious about your guys' opinion on, because I agree, I thought the movie was excellent, but it seemed like a movie almost made for an older audience than typical Pixar. Like the main character is literally is about a midlife crisis, is what the movie is about.
Yeah.
It's like a middle-aged man having a midlife crisis, and that is the whole thing of the movie. And so much of the conflict is based on, like, you know, you are what you do kind of stuff, which doesn't apply to children very much. So, like, I don't know. Did you guys feel that this movie maybe was... I don't know if it was intended for an older audience, but it just almost felt like a lot of this stuff would go over, like, a young child's head compared to other Pixar movies.
I think certainly, like, the message was I think, like, this is, as far as Pixar movies goes, this is one of, like, the most complex messages that they've ever had in a film. And it's actually, I was kind of thinking about this, because I think it's also true that I'm somewhat struggling to think of things to say. And part of that is that the movie itself had a lot of things to say. It covers a lot of different ideas associated around its subject. And it, like, and honestly, it's like the way that it plays out its subject through, like, this grand kind of, like, celestial, like, concepts is just really, really fascinating. I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's not as immediate as some other Pixar films, but I think that it's probably the Pixar film that I would most like to rewatch that I can think of right now, because just I feel like there are things to pick up on in that movie that I missed the first time around.
How would you guys say it compares to? So I think, am I correct in saying that both of your favorite Pixar movies are WALL-E?
That is my favorite Pixar movie.
Yeah, I'd probably say WALL-E's my favorite.
How does this, rank up compared to that? You know, is this like in the top 5 Pixar movies, or is this like a mid-tier?
It's hard to say. I mean, because this is the thing with WALL-E. I watched that when I was pretty young, and I think there's a bit of that, like, nostalgia-ish factor. But WALL-E also just, I think the kind of, like, genre that it's set in just makes it somewhat more appealing or endearing to me. I kind of like the futuristic sci-fi setting, and, like, it's actually dystopian. The movie doesn't feel like a dystopia, but it kind of is, actually. Like, the world's, like, screwed.
It's dystopian in the ship, and it's dystopian on Earth, obviously. But
yeah, just has a big smiley face around it the whole time. So, and that always appealed to me when I was younger. So it's, I mean, I'm not going to say this movie like takes over WALL-E's spot, but it's, I mean, I'd say it's up there with, like, any other, like, good Pixar film.
It's an excellent film. I think that the way I would kind of see it is that it doesn't top WALL-E for me, just because WALL-E has just certain kind of images and a way of storytelling that is just so impactful that I don't. It would be very difficult for a movie to unseat WALL-E over, like, as far as Pixar films go. But what I think, because I think that part of the concept of this film is that it's not trying to tell a super like just really impactful kind of moment to moment story. Instead, it is telling a story, obviously, but instead everything feels a little bit more loose. Not because it's not meticulously planned, it is, but because every single part is about considering its ideas. And so it's less about these very specific moments that just strike me as really, really like brilliant kind of just storytelling.
That's a good point. This one doesn't have as many like really memorable scenes that you just like, but the movie is just pretty interesting the whole way through. So, I mean, I definitely think this is one of the best Pixar movies, honestly. Like I'm comparing it to other Pixar movies in my mind, and I think this is the better movie. But I guess I kind of get what you're saying too. But like some of the like there's gonna be quotes from this movie that I'm gonna remember. The one about the fish in particular.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of when you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then it's just this movie just felt like more mature. And I mean, Pixar movies are always good about having like mature themes mixed in with kind of kid friendly, but this one really, really felt like it just felt like a movie for adults in a way that other Pixar movies don't. And I as an adult, you know, I appreciate that. I don't know. I'd be actually kind of curious about what like a young child would think of this movie. I don't know how they would feel about it. Like there's the kind of the spunky spirit character is probably the most appealing bit, or is kind of like the character who does all the wacky slapstick kind of humor. And I guess the pirate guy is kind of fun, the hippie pirate. But for the most part, I mean, the movie is really about this guy, this middle-aged guy who's having a midlife crisis. And like it's kind of as depressing as it just sounded right there when I said it. Like the Pixar can like wrap it up in so many ways, but it really is kind of like it's an interesting I don't know.
Yeah, once we get to the spoiler situation, I feel like I can clarify a little bit what it is I've been meaning with some of the things I've been saying. But yeah, major takeaway I would say is just that it's it comes like all Pixar movies kind of come to a conclusion. Like for example, WALL-E. It gives a conclusion about what it means to really live, right, or something like that. Or Inside Out. We need all of our emotions in order to lead a fulfilling life, etc. Right? And this movie does that too, but I feel like it's also a lot harder to pin down a little bit the implication of its message.
Well, one thing was the ending is like very much a non-ending. I think that was on purpose. And it actually surprised me.
The movie like does just kind of like end. Like it kind of caught me off guard.
Maybe a little bit. Or maybe I don't know.
Given the message it was doing the whole time, I think the non-ending makes sense. But it wasn't what I expected it to happen. I was expecting an ending. And we didn't really get one, but it works. It actually it had made me think about the ending afterwards, kind of like the Sopranos ending, right? Like it's supposed to make you think. And I think this is actually better than the Sopranos ending. So, for what it's worth. But yeah, no, I definitely feel like I could recommend this truly to anyone. Like I don't know if there's, this is just one of those movies I think are just kind of like could be universally liked by anyone. Pixar is generally well liked by pretty much everyone, but this one I think this movie could be appeal to people who aren't even Pixar fans, because it does feel just a little bit different, a little bit headier, a little bit more mature feeling. But I think still, it still has enough of that Pixar charm that it probably would appeal to all ages, if maybe not as much as some of the other ones.
Yeah. And before you head into the spoiler-free section, I just want to note the score in this movie is fantastic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I mean the main characters, into jazz. So we get, our cool jazz stuff, but then also Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross also do half the score. And it's not like a jarring shift, like when like their music plays. Like it's kind of very seamless. It always fits into the scenario.
Kind of a tangent, but I've been appreciating that Trent Reznor. I always kind of associated him with a sound, even when he did soundtracks. But like with Mank and this, I feel like he can do it all. He's just whatever fits the movie. He can make it.
I've always said he's a genius. So